What's a good? I don't even know. I don't even want to. I don't even want to think of a creative thing because we've already futzed around with too much crap.
We
So
botched it.
it wasn't even us. It was. I don't even want to talk
The
about
universe.
it. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just. Wow. Hey guys, welcome back to Runeterrable Radio, episode number 12. I'm your host, Blevins. Joining me, as always, is Saucy Mailman. What's up, buddy?
Yo.
And we are joined today by the geek scribe himself from esports, DannySpaceCoast. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for being on. You kind of, I think, opened up the floodgates for a lot of people in not like in like the mainstream gaming world of some really great content creators, including Saucy Mailman, who's on the show right now. For the article you wrote about the different Legends of Runeterra streamers, which was awesome. So really appreciate that, and glad to see that, like, you know, folks from the gaming media world are actually picking up Runeterra. It's really nice to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been waiting for it since November. Very anxiously awaiting it and hoping and praying that it was as successful as I thought it might be, and I really think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, well, we're here on a podcast about the game, so we obviously have a little bit of faith in it.
I can fail, I don't care.
Well, I know, I think the sort of the big thing that gets myself and Saucy at least excited about if you're playing the Runeterrable Radio drinking game, we did just mention the name of a card, so take a shot. Also, it might be against Twitch terms of service to say that, so don't actually take a shot of water. I said get excited, by the way, for those playing at home. But what actually is really interesting is that we come from Magic the Gathering background, which I know in the little bit of research I did as a true podcast host on you, Danny. I know you come from a Magic the Gathering background as well. So what's been really sort of intriguing to you about Runeterra coming from that sort of background?
Well, yeah, I mean, with Magic, I was playing since mid-90s, late 90s. Obviously paper, for those who don't know. But took a break, raised a kid by myself, came back into it a few years ago. We started doing like pre-release events and stuff like that, and got into, obviously, Arena when it launched. And I love Arena, I love Magic, don't get me wrong. But with Runeterra, it's just, I don't know, I'm in awe. I'm in complete shock and awe about how awesome, how hooked I am on it. Like I mentioned earlier, I have not touched Arena. If it wasn't for Worlds last weekend, I would not have touched Arena in the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have quite the length of time having played Magic, but I mean, I've still been playing for 15 years, since the early 2000s, and did the whole paper thing, did the Grand Prix circuit, PTQs, all that stuff, was in a very competitive community and played in that. And yeah, I mean, I lost that like spark to play Magic when Hearthstone first came out, because the digital aspect of it was super appealing to me. It's like
so convenient.
Yeah, it's so convenient. And I mean, it's not even that it's convenient, because I literally lived above a Magic, like a card store. Like, I was actually the apartment above a card store, and my roommates were the owners. So it's not even hyperbole for me to say I lived above a card store. So I could, and a lot of times did, go to every single event that was there, because I would just be able to go downstairs. So it's not even necessarily the convenience. It's just like there's so many things that we take as needed because they were needed for a paper game. You know, you do have to have these rule sets in. You need to have judges. You need to have, you know, you can't do certain things, and there needs to be shuffling. I think at the end of the day, it's shuffling to me.
A lot of shuffling.
Fetch lands and, you know, shuffling and all this stuff. And it's just like, you don't need any of that for to play a digital game. And I think Hearthstone really, I mean, it literally changed the world of card games forever and really pushed us into this is a digital game that happens to be a card game, not a card game that we're ported to digital, which is what Magic Online was. And I did many, many years and thousands of dollars into that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely echo the, like, I mean, I still play Arena from time to time because I, you know, I still love Magic and I still like to play. And I also, you know, write for, Streamer Showdown, so I keep up with Magic in general, but you know, it's not like I'm grinding like I am with Runeterra. I don't have a MTG Arena podcast, and I'm not going to be starting one unless Wizards you want to pay me to do one, in which case email blevmedia@gmail.com. Shameless self-promotion. If you're playing the drinking game at home, there it is.
Yeah, that you're right.
So besides sort of Magic and LOR, Danny, where else is your gaming background lie?
Honestly, that is like the main part. I mean, unless you want to go all the way back to
Let's go.
You know, the old arcade days.
Sure.
I mean, the first game I ever played was Pong. But yeah, I grew up playing D&D,
Yeah,
and Magic and stuff like that. And I mean, I have Star Wars Battlefront 2. I suck at it, but I have it. You know, but I never really, I never got much into a lot of just the third-person shooters or anything like that. My thing's always been chess, card games, things like that, which is Runeterra kind of, because the way they launched the regions and deck building and the way the meta is right now, I find it almost superior to when Arena first started. If you look at the standard rotation then, I mean, the meta was set almost instantly in Magic, and here we are bouncing one day full control, next day aggro burn, and we're all replacing Heimerdingers and Timos and stuff we all thought was going to be horrible is now amazing. And it blows my mind. I mean, every day it just blows my mind how awesome it is. I don't know. I know when Mogwai was talking about it and how it kind of like revived a spark in him, and that's how I feel. I mean, I can literally sit and play for hours, and I'm just trying all these different crazy jank builds, and it's fun. It's just fun, and the matches are so much faster too. That's a huge part. Is you're just able to really go. There's not a lot of roping going on, which is nice.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
Don't worry, they'll come.
Yeah, we'll find creative ways to waste people's time.
For sure. And it to piggyback too, it's felt like I didn't even feel this way when Hearthstone first came out, because I mean, we've talked about it on the show so much. It's like Hearthstone came out, and the first set of Hearthstone, you know, credit where credit's due, it was amazing. They did a lot of great things for the industry and all that, but like the first set of Hearthstone is vanilla.
Yeah.
It's not even French vanilla. It is nice and plain and simple, and let's get the systems in, which is great. But, you know, Runeterra has the benefit of being, what is it, 5 years, 6 years later than Hearthstone or whatever, maybe even more than that if you count when Hearthstone was first being developed. It's been able to iterate on that and really get there. So I mean, as someone who's producing content for Legends of Runeterra and covering the scene for Legends of Runeterra, what are your hopes for LOR at a larger scale? I mean, are you expecting to see like a esports scene? Is it going to be casual, or what are your hopes for it? What are you expecting?
Well, as far as esports go, one of the first things they mentioned before the pre-release was that they want it to be done organically, which I think is a great idea. They did that with LOL, Riot did, and to force it, I think you can look at, Wizards of the Coast forcing Arena competitively, all the issues they had last year in 2019. It was a mess, and you don't want to force it. I do want competitive though. I can't wait for it.
Yep.
And I think it'll be successful. But at the same token, CCGs are different than, say, Fortnite or LOL, or especially if you're considering an audience. It's kind of like watching golf with a CCG, because you can't gasp or start clapping when someone top decks that bomb, because then it's a tell, and you're going to throw off the entire match.
Right.
But you don't have those issues with Overwatch and stuff like that.
Right.
But I still think that there is so much room for a competitive scene, and I do believe it will happen. I mean, grassroots stuff's already starting to pop up.
Yeah.
And that's usually a good sign, not a telltale sign, but a good sign that it will evolve over time. And I mean, come on, we're only 4 weeks in? Not even 4 weeks
into the beta.
Yeah.
Yeah, but guys, Hearthstone already had a pro tour at this point. It's like, A, no, it didn't, and B,
actually no.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that article written about Legends of Runeterra, but I did see a similar article written by, I'm not going to call him out, written by someone in the scene for a news outlet that I won't name, about TFT, and I was like, A, the information you're quoting is just wrong. It's anecdotal and it's wrong. And B, the conclusion you're drawing from it anyway is also wrong. So I was very distraught, but neither here nor there. The thing for me that, because when I first heard when they first announced or mentioned that that line that you're quoting here or referencing, Danny, is they want it to be organic. At first, I was like, "Oh, so that means we're not going to get support, right?" Or like they're not going to push it, and it's just going to be a bunch of like, homegrown tournaments, which can be fine for sure. But I'm like, well, it's Riot. I kind of want them to put stuff into it, but. I don't think that that's necessarily true. Like they still can support. Like it can be homegrown and they can still support that. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't think about when you're not like dealing heavily in like working heavily in the scene is like when the developer is hands off with how the community can do tournaments, that's a good thing, because take a look at Nintendo and what they've done over the years with like Melee. Melee is one of the most die-hard esports and competitive groups, period.
Yeah.
And Nintendo over the years has actively tried to stop them from doing things. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They shut down or did not allow Evo to actually happen for Melee. It's like, hey, we own the game, we own the broadcast rights. You can't do this. So it's just something that, in talking with people when they first heard, LOR is going to be grassroots, it's like, well, I guess that means that they're not doing competitive. So I guess that's just going to be a casual game. It's like, no, actually, that's not what it's going. That doesn't mean that. And also, it's a good thing that they're saying that. So,
well, the grassroots scene has changed so much in the last 10 years.
Sure.
And if there's enough interest in it, it'll happen. One way or another, it will happen. And honestly, I don't want Riot to have, I take that back. I want Riot to be able to support it and have input. However, there has to be some kind of line, because I find with Wizards of the Coast, there's just such an iron fist on everything.
Yep.
that it's turned into one hot mess. I mean, I had to write a guide for Worlds just on how things were taking place and how people got in and what are all the tournaments that are leading up to it. And even that, I mean, I was getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to see that happen with LOR. That's one of the things I really want or hope that Riot will avoid when we get to that point. Because if it becomes too complicated, then players aren't interested.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's interested. Viewers aren't interested because they can't follow it. They can't keep up with it. And yeah, it'll just fall apart.
Yeah, you look at, I mean, I'm not trying to say that the old Magic format was super clear, but back in my day, it was like,
it was simpler.
It was at least somewhat simpler. It's like the lowest level event that is sanctioned by Wizards, it's like an FNM. Or technically you can have like sanctioned events that are just like one-offs or whatever, but like FNM is your basic thing. You go a step up and you've got even before like the PPTQs or what we used to call pre-TQs, you had old style. Actually, I think they're back to this now. I don't even know. But you got PTQs at the next level. Then you got Grand Prix at the next level. And then if you qualify, then you get to the Pro Tour. And like there used to be like regionals and nationals and other things. Like even that is confusing. But I'm like, I look and I'm like, okay, there's Magic Fests, which used to be Grand Prix. There's like World Championships. Then there's the Players Tour. There's the and I'm just sitting here like, what the is that? Like no idea what's going on with all these things. It's like okay, I get maybe why you might rename Grand Prix because there's nothing inherent about the name Grand Prix that makes me think, oh, this is like a high level competitive amateur open.
Exactly.
Where like the Pro Tour was pretty self-explanatory what it meant. It was like the tour of professional events that happened that you had to be qualified for. Not that hard, but now they've got like different variants of it. And some of it is like on Arena exclusively and some of it is in paper. And it's like,
well, I mean, you guys know, like if talking about, even if we're just coming from thinking Magic, like think of Star City Games, for instance. How many Star City Games tournaments have you guys played in? I mean, I played in probably literally hundreds of Star City Games tournaments, and it's like that's not Wizards doing it.
Right.
So, I mean, if we have, those are huge things that happen. Just because the developer of the game isn't the one putting on the tournament doesn't mean tournaments aren't going to happen for Legends of Runeterra.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, Danny, you write for esports. Esports are obviously something that you care about. Because I see in the digital card game, market right now, there's such a void for esports. I mean, Hearthstone's really been doing a great job of shooting itself in the foot.
Right.
Wizards of the Coast, like, oh, we like what news. Yeah, we like what Blizzard does. They like to just shoot themselves in the foot. Let's do that as well. Do you feel like this game could, like Legends of Runeterra could, have the ability to take over that competitive market that we have this big void for?
Actually, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that will launch Runeterra really into the stratosphere, so to speak. Because one thing the developers have really proven so far is that they can learn from others' mistakes, whether it be Hearthstone, whether it be Arena, then catering to the community and how they wanted to design everything from ground up. And if we get to that competitive scene, I truly believe that they're going to take all the mistakes that have been made up to this point and learn from them and be able to take it to a whole nother level that we actually haven't seen since Hearthstone really first launched in the competitive scene. And I think that'd be great because there is a viable market. My dog's going crazy.
He likes
There's a
Runeterra.
viable market for CCGs. There really is.
If you ask your dog what the competitive scene for online TCGs is right here, they would say rough.
Yeah.
I wish I had a rim shot sound effect, but I don't, because that was the dumbest joke I've ever made.
I'm not gonna say that.
No, that's true. I have said some really dumb things. Hashtag Runeterrable Radio branded heat shirts will be available soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think we can talk about how we're all very on board and hopeful for Legends of Runeterra, competitive in esports and all that stuff. Till the cows come home, as they say, but it'll be more fruitful to talk about when they actually announce something or do something.
Yeah.
So let's move on here a little bit before we talk about the news and the new patch. Oh, by the way, guys, did you know that there's a new patch out?
What?
We got to ask the important question here for you, Danny. What is your favorite board, and more importantly, what's your favorite Guardian to use?
All right, well, Saucy's gonna like this one because
don't say it ain't so.
First one I got was T-Hex, obviously.
Woo!
Oh,
all right, I win. Show's over.
Oh,
all right,
my God.
And
that was a Runeterrable Radio episode 12. Thank you for listening.
Oh man, there's just
now I might
love.
get the Basilisk next, but I'm kind of holding off for the next patch to see what else they're gonna drop.
That's true.
But I like Reckoner's Arena. Although I did go with Hextech. I'm sorry. I did. I had to. The whole P&Z is it's tight. I'm sorry. It looks good.
Man, I'm not going to lie. I forgot that the Basilisk was an option. So I think that's actually a pretty underrated, except for Gromp Jr. Any Gromp gangers in chat? What's that? No? Okay.
Okay.
It's just me.
I can't do the shark, though. Every time I see the shark, I hear my wife going, "Baby shark." I just can't. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny when I was playing with a friend of the show, Rod Johnson, on his stream. He had the baby shark, and I just kept going. And he's like, "Is that making the noise, or is that you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, I don't know."
I mean, what? I have no idea.
Like, I would just keep doing it over and over again just to mess with him. It was great. Okay, so banned from the show for not for picking T-Hex like a poser, but I kid.
I can't wait for Blevins to realize that I pay every single guest before the show. So.
You buy them the T-Hex. You buy them a T-Hex.
If I buy you T-Hex, will you use it?
You say it just like that. Hello, son. I've got a fine proposition for you. Bring me tea.
There's no ass kissing going here. Check my Twitter feed. I said I wanted T-Hex like months ago.
Yeah.
That is true. Before we were friends.
To gain the strength of rivers. Okay.
Okay. Second important question though. What are your top 3 favorite cards currently?
All right. Currently, I'm so stuck on Yasuo. I mean, I love the fact that if you can get him to level up and use it more like a control deck and just wipe out everybody, to me, that's just so satisfying. But I love Teemo. Like I said, it was the first champion I fully unlocked.
What the is that?
I know. I love Arachnoid Sentry. Great 3-drop. I mean, Arachnoid Sentry is just an awesome. Radiant Guardian is a sleeper I like, too. I can't wait for that card.
What do you mean Bane Slayer Angel's a good card?
Yeah, that card is so strong.
And of course, all the meme stuff. I'm just a memer. Heart of Fluffed. I mean, I even wrote an article on it knowing it would bomb. But it's a great card. And you can kill it and it just comes right back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 least favorite cards currently?
Shark Chariot.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife in the background.
Okay.
Catalyst of Eons. I really don't like that one either. Is anybody even playing that card?
I am.
In War Muther's Skull.
In War Muther's Skull. Deck's amazing.
Oh man, when you can just throw 6 cows into any deck, you have the perfect game.
Yes.
So good. I feel like
Shark Chariot, Catalyst of Aeons. We have one more.
I don't even have one more, honestly.
There's no card that infuriates you or makes you want to throw
Not
a wheel
really.
of cheese at your neighbor.
No, I mean, even the most annoying cards, I respect them. And that's actually one of the things I really like again about LOR is just that, you can go through and there's so many cards. Okay, yeah, I'm not playing that, or this one's not getting played, but it doesn't mean it's not going to get played.
Right.
I mean, with the way the metas just keep evolving and changing. I do want to see. What was it? Funsmith. I think Funsmith really needs a buff. If Funsmith got a buff, I mean, that's probably one of my least favorite cards right now to put in because it's just there's no value to it.
Yeah.
But if it got a buff, oh man.
Yeah, that's a card that I've gotten in expeditions before, and like if you can stick it, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's like I am afraid if that card gets buffed, I am afraid because that just like that will control a whole game if you can get that on online.
Well, that's one of those cards that could like legitimately spawn an entire archetype behind it. Like think of how good Withering Whale gets all of a sudden, and like Vile Feast. There's like so many cards became just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, Grasp doing extra damage is really good.
Yep. I'm wondering what's the is it called Cloud Drinker? Is that the one that like reduces the cost of all of your burst spells?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called, that like big wheel thing.
Yeah, because they buffed him right in before the open beta started.
No, they nerfed him preemptively.
Yeah. Because he was gonna be broken. That's
yeah,
what it was.
Yeah. It used to be reduce all of your burst spells by 2, now it's only by 1.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be something there cuz like I get that they want to they don't want it to be a problem, but they don't want it to be a problem, but also like they had to have something in mind, right? If if they preemptively nerfed it, but maybe it was just like Ezreal combo. That can make sense. Like, oh, now all of your mushrooms cost 0. Actually, wait, they still do cost 0. I may have stumbled upon something. Decklist by the end of the show. Just kidding. I have not actually. I literally just came up with that off the top of my head. But let's talk about some news here. I mean, this isn't really like it's news enough. I'm calling it. We're calling it news. Therefore, it is news.
We've created it as news.
I say it's news. Therefore, it. Okay, not getting political. Prismat, former guest on past guest on the show, friend of the podcast, hit rank 1 NA with the Ezreal combo almost exclusively, according to his Twitter. I have loved that deck, by the way, the Ezreal combo, the Freljord, Keenzy, Ezreal control deck. Get a bunch of puff caps, level up Ezreal, and kill him. Yep. It's really become one of the pillars of the meta too now.
Yeah.
And another pillar of the meta was, I think, popularized at least a decent amount by another former guest of the show, Casanova, who hit rank 2 in NA with the Teemo Draven aggro deck, made in collaboration with Gummy, who is a friend of the show, and I think Bagel something. No, I feel bad because I didn't have it off my hand.
Yeah, you got that right.
It's something with Bagels. And they may be in the Discord, but they're not as active as Gummy. Gummy is very, very active in the Discord. Shouts to Gummy. And also shouts to Casanova for getting so high on the ladder with that. But all I'm saying is that you come on the show, you climb up to the top of Master. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's how it works.
Which is awesome. So shout outs to all of them, and we love it. It's great. I mean, it's awesome to see that people in the Runeterrable Radio community are climbing up the top of the ladder, but it's just nice to see like these cool decks, because like you think about it, like literally last week, I mean, people knew about the Ezreal deck, but it wasn't where it is now, right? It wasn't the like, this is a pillar of the meta. This is the control. This is the rock or the paper, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And now we've really got another one of those pillars in this Teemo Draven deck, which is like, Yeah, this is super, super different than the other decks. So, and it's very much a all-in aggro deck. Like, it's playing Decimates.
Yeah. 3x Decimate. It's it's a world where Decimate is a legitimately strong card in the game. Like, makes me feel really happy.
Yeah, that's a good old-fashioned Lava Axe. Still getting the job done. Actually, it's worse than Lava. Well, it does less damage than Lava Axe as well. I'll say I don't say it's better or worse. But Danny, did we lose you, bud? Can you still hear
I'm
us?
still here.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay. I thought you said you had.
Y'all are in your zone right now. I'm saying
That's the life of a podcaster. You're used to just talking to yourself for so long. It's just nice.
Constantly talking.
Well,
and that is why I write.
So good, so good. Speaking of writing, this is an awkward segue. Some patch notes were written recently.
Jeez, that was a stretch, my dude.
That was a real stretch.
That was a great transition.
Yeah, good one.
That's what we call pro podcasting. That was terrible. That was worse.
So we got patch 0.9.0, the first
that's
big,
pro podcast,
quote unquote, big balance patch. Something I really want to speak to, and I want to get your opinion on this, actually, Danny, is we saw the first actually, buffs and nerfs of cards, but a lot of people were thinking that they were going to do buffs and nerfs similar to other card games where, like, all of a sudden they're like, Hecarim is now a 1/4 and like just decimate cards into the ground.
Yeah.
But it's appearing as if they're taking the stance on small incremental changes since they're, doing patches every other week.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? Do you like that they're doing small changes even if it doesn't affect the meta as much?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the problem with anytime you do a big change, you're going to get a lot of people that are probably going to get upset about it, especially if they've invested, in that card or their deck or whatever. But if you do minute little small changes, say like Deny, it's not as viable as it was last week, but it's still a good freaking card.
Mm-hmm.
It can still get used. It's still being used in control decks. Maybe not 3 copies, 1 or 2 instead. But these little changes, these little nerfs or buffs that they make every couple weeks, I think are brilliant. And if it continues that way, not only will the meta always shift just a little bit here and there, but we're going to see so many other archetypes and so many other decks starting to get discovered or start to get played, because that's what creates such a stale meta usually, is that there's a giant change, whether it's a new set that comes out or it's one major nerf or buff or whatever it may be. And then so everybody shifts, and now that's all everybody plays for like the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
yeah, it's so funny because I had this happen because I was streaming the day the patch came out, and I'm always used to anytime a card gets nerfed, because I came from Hearthstone, when a card gets nerfed, it doesn't exist anymore. Like, that card is no longer a thing. And I was playing a game and I got blown out by Rasa because I forgot people would still be playing Rasa, because I'm like, wait, it got nerfed. Why is that card being played? And I was like, I mean, it's 1 mana. Like, so because in my mind, I'm like, if a card gets nerfed, it doesn't exist. Like, that card's no longer in the set. It disappeared. And I was like, yeah, no, like, Rasa still completely does the same thing. It's still good. And same with Lidros. Like, just like every card that got nerfed, I was still seeing play. And that made me feel really, really good about the state of the game. I know we're 4 weeks in and we're in the beta. You guys shut up. I get it. But it made me feel good. Yeah. It made me feel good.
They say that Ledros, their Commander Ledros, was nerfed because he costs 9 mana now. But I had an opponent in Expedition. I forget what the card's called, but the 5 mana birthing pod guy that destroys a
emitter.
Yeah, destroys and then gives you a unit that costs 2 more.
Yeah,
they did that to their Anivia and got a Ledros off of it. So actually, Ledros buff confirmed.
Yeah,
I did not win that game, by the way.
No, that's pretty gross.
It was pretty gross. We're not going to go through all the changes, guys. Go to playruneterra.com yasuo.com/news or click the news button. The link is on there. I'll put the link in the description of the notes too if you want to read through the changes yourselves. There's a lot of UI and background information on the philosophy of the changes. But let's take a moment here and talk about a couple of the cards that jump out. And since you mentioned it, Danny, I'll start.
Yasuo.
Oh, we'll talk.
Yasuo.
Yeah, let's start it off. Let's talk about Yasuo. You are a Yasuo enthusiast. I know a friend of the show, Eric Thomas, has been on the Yasuo train for quite some time. I think since like literal day one, he snap crafted the Yasuos. So what do you think? Is this Yasuo? And by the way, the for those listening, the level up requirement has gone from stunning or recalling 6 units to stunning or recalling 5 units, so a little bit easier to level them up. What do you think about this change overall?
The 5 does make it a little easier, but there's still so many holes within the deck itself. I mean, Mogwai literally spent 8 hours today, and I watched and listened to just about all 8 hours of him trying to tweak it and trying just different ways of helping the deck succeed. The biggest problem with Yasuo is your early game. You get them out and you start casting those spells and you start just tearing apart your opponent. But in the early game, you can just get crushed. I mean, with an aggro deck, especially like the burn one that came out today, there's no chance of survival at all. And I mean, every deck has a weakness, but it's certainly, I don't think it'll ever hit tier 1 at the point it's at now. It's probably tier 3, maybe tier 2. But I still love it. It's fun to play.
Yeah, the Yasuo decks are really cool. I think one of the biggest problems with it is the games where you have Yasuo feel so good. The games you don't draw them feel really, really bad.
Oh, that is the truth.
Yeah, I feel like that's part. I think the philosophy of deck building may shift because of that feeling. Not even necessarily for Yasuo, but like, I mean, we talked about this before with Teemo, and Mogwai kind of pointed this out. It's like, yeah, if you invest all of your resources on Teemo and like invest into him flipping and getting 100 million puff caps, it's like, yeah, the times you get that to happen, it's going to be super fun and awesome. But like, is the deck competitively viable? Probably not, because you can just counter the Teemo, or sometimes you just don't draw it. Yasuo feels the same way, and my problem with Yasuo is twofold. I think his ability is a very, arguably the most defensive ability in the game. Like, because like you're stunning or recalling units, which is very defensive. And B, like you're dealing damage to them and like basically acting as a removal spell to those units as well. So you're doing very defensive things. But he's a 4/3 for 4 quick attack. Like that is, you know. So like it almost seems like he's doing both things, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like you can have like a tempo-y deck where, you know, he's attacking and doing damage, but also he's playing defensively. It just feels more at home with like a more defensively like statted, or like he's like part offense, part defense. And maybe that's part of his design, but that seems a little off. And then the other thing is like the games you don't draw him, it feels really bad. And the part of the reason it feels really bad is like a lot of the stun and recall units or cards are like kind of lackluster-ish without him, right? Like you can play the 3-mana stun and attacking unit, but it's like it's an all right card, but it's not one that you super want to be playing in and of itself without Yasuo. I mean, William of Ionia is definitely a card you do want to be playing at least some number of copies of, but like a lot of them are like, yeah, this is not really doing too much. So
the other cards are good, but you're right. Without Yasuo, it's kind of flat.
Yeah.
I want to know why he doesn't have a unit that draws him like
Draven's biggest fan. Yep.
Yeah, that would be cool if there was like a Yasuo's fan. If there was like a fan for every, if there was a way to draw it specifically. I mean, I kind of thematically, it makes sense for Draven, right? It's like you've got Draven's #1 fan or whatever, and because that's like his theme. Yasuo isn't Yasuo. I mean, I haven't finished reading.
He's a loner,
right? So it's like you play a card, it is nothing, and it summons Yasuo because he wants to be around nothing or no one. That would be an interesting one. It's just called Yasuo's, and it's just blank. It's just Yasuo's
underline.
Yeah, underline. Yeah, I do think it's cool, and I think specifically for Expedition, this is a good change because it is a lot easier to now flip him. But man, Yasuo is one of those champions that's so annoying to play against because like some of the card, like Minotaur is the one that jumps to mind. It's like, man, that's just like a slow death, and I can't do much about
death
it.
Of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, and the 3 health is good. I mean, I was complaining about how he's not super defensively statted, but if he was any more defensively statted, I would probably hate the card actively.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought it was a very, like, if we're speaking specifically to the buff they gave him, I thought it was a very clean design. Just changing the quest. I liked his stats where he's at. Again, I think if they added like another health, he's going to be a disaster. Him being at 3 health is important because you can still kill him with things like grasp or the box or whatever. So yeah, I think it was a very elegant design. That was the word I was looking for. Elegant.
Yeah, you throw another health on him, and that card is brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. But they said it was specifically for expeditions. It really wasn't for constructed. Personally, I've been trying to make it for constructed, but it wasn't.
Right.
It'll happen.
Yeah, 3 to 4 is a gigantic break point in terms of health in this game. So
especially on a quick attack champion, like that's what's crazy. If you give quick attack more health, it's like, oh, so good.
Wait. Giving quick attack health doesn't affect.
For like combat math.
Wait.
Math is for blockers.
I'm dumb braining right now. Let's move on and talk about another card that we mentioned before, and one that we've had almost an entire section of the show devoted to it before. Deny, one of the most,
I've heard of that card,
if not the most, I think, argued about card. Period in Legends of Runeterra.
You're probably right.
Has gone from a 3 cost to a 4 cost. And I think, if I recall correctly, my opinion on the show when we last talked about it was, guys, have you never played around Negate before? Have you not? Like, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't hit your creatures. It doesn't this, that, and the other thing. And I think I've shifted my opinion on it slightly. I'm actually in favor of this cost increase, specifically because it will always cost you 1 mana minimum of your turn's allotted mana. Being able to pay for it up front, essentially, by banking 3 spell mana, I think was something that when we talked about it before, which it was either super early on in open beta or after like 1 of the preview patches, I did not value or really evaluate the like, oh, well, I can just like save 3 spell mana and this is essentially free. Like that is I think one of the biggest like skill flexors in this game is knowing like being mana efficient means a different thing than it does in Magic the Gathering. Like in Magic the Gathering, it's like, oh, I've got 4 mana on my turn. I want to spend 4 mana. Instead of playing a 3 mana guy, I want to play a 4 mana guy. Instead of playing 2 mana guys, I want to play a 4 mana guy because next turn I can play a 2 mana guy and a 3 mana guy. Now it's like I have 4 mana. I actually kind of want to play a 1 mana guy and then save 3 mana depending on your spell, depending on the spells that you have, the spells you have on your deck. Like there's a lot more complexity to being air quotes mana efficient in this game, and I think it's a real cost. So I'm actually in favor of this just in general, the having it always cost 1 of your turn's mana Not even that it just like pushes back the, oh, well, I can slam Heimerdinger on 5, have my 4th or my 3 mana to have deny back up and be safe. It's more like you got to spend the extra mana from your turn this turn to hold it up. That I think really makes the difference. What do you guys?
It's made a huge difference so far,
yeah.
And I think it was actually one of the best changes that the devs made in regards to whether it be a buff or a nerf. It just showed the efficiency and how they're looking at how they're making their adjustments. Because I mean, honestly, I never really thought Deny was that big of a big baddie. I mean, I'm used to blue and magic and counter spells. I mean, you know, I mean that Deny was nothing, but it does shift things when you have to spend that one more mana drop for it, or spell drop. And if you look at the other spells and their power levels, when Deny was at just 3, it was kind of low cost for that.
Yeah, where I sit, like I just like changes that make you evaluate cards from a deck builder standpoint. I don't like cards that are so strong that it's a 3 of in every single archetype that's from that faction. And for a while we saw you're playing Ionia, you play 3. It did start changing towards the end where, you know, people playing the Mistwraith decks were maybe running 2 because we were seeing the evolving meta of now burst is a thing that, you know, happens. Me being a little selfish, you know, I'm a War Mother's Call guy. I like seeing Deny cost a little more.
Mother's Call.
More Mother's Call. You know, but honestly, like, so I got into this argument from a lot of people, especially in comments on YouTube, where people are like, well, War Mother's Call's unplayable because Deny is a card. And one, that's completely wrong. But like, two, like, you have to be a better player, right? Like you can't just blame your losses to the card existing, because if you're just trying to windmill slam War Mother's Call on curve just because you have the mana and haven't thought about your plays, you deserve to get denied. Sorry, but that's a thing. So I don't know. I think it's an elegant design change. I was fine with the Deny being 3, just because that's, I mean, I don't know. I'm a blue player Magic. It's whatever. I'm used to counter spells, but I'm completely fine with it. Even if it's nothing more than to just keep people from pitchforking and burning down every Riot HQ or whatever. So
yeah, I think it's less. My mindset changed when I really understood, and not even understood, but like really like appreciated spell mana, and like,
yeah,
I'm fine with counter spells existing. In fact, I'm glad that they do. But when I think of it less like negate and more like force of will, that's where I start to be like, okay, maybe this needs to actually cost something, because it's like, it costs 3 mana, and yes, it is a cost to save spell mana, but it's an easy cost to play in the first. Like, you build, like, a lot of the decks are going like turn 1 pass, turn 2 pass, turn 3. I have 3 mana for the turn and 3 spell mana.
Yeah,
that's a like a relatively standard play depending on the deck. And it's not that, I mean, maybe this Teemo deck punishes that, but like in general, it's not necessarily a super punished move. So all in all, I like it.
Well, and to echo that, because I had the same conversation with one of my Magic buddies, because he was asking about Runeterra, and he was like, well, is it like Hearthstone, or is there interaction counter spells? I'm like, yeah, there's counter spells in Legend of Runeterra. He's like, oh, like, do they have like negate? I'm like, no, they just have force of will. Oh wait, that's a little strong.
yeah. For those of you who aren't, I know we go deep inside Magic all the time. So
yeah, get your drinking.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah. We make a Magic reference without explaining it. There's a shot. Force of Will is basically a counter spell that you can play for free from your hand. If you discard a card, another card, and pay a life. Is basically what it is. And Deny felt kind of like that, because it's like, yes, Force of Will costs something, but it doesn't cost anything really on that turn. You pay for it in a different way, which is always worth, like, bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush type of thing. Right, that's how that goes. Made a boomer reference, Drake. Any other cards on this list that really jump out to you in terms of the changes that happened?
for me, my favorite change of the whole thing was something that I didn't even think about or realize. It was the FPS options. Being able to unlock the FPS has so damn huge. Like going
Really?
from 30 frames to 144 frames. Like the game is smoother, but the animations all go faster. So the game actually plays faster.
I need to do that.
It's a huge thing.
I did not realize that. That's awesome.
Yep. So yeah, so those stun animations, they actually go quicker and like attacks go faster.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
I actually forgot about it until somebody mentioned it this afternoon. I said, "Oh yeah, I went in my settings, made the change." Whoa,
it's weird. It's like actually an eerie feeling. Like even scrolling through menus, like because it's so much more, like it's smoother, and your eyes are like, "Whoa, this doesn't seem right." It's crazy.
I'm gonna do that literally the second after the episode. That's awesome. Danny, any other changes that were made that jump out to you or that you think are interesting?
Well, I mean, I think the Lux change was actually a really good one. And I don't mean to harp on all the champions and stuff, but they do have, major impact.
Sure.
And how everyone's crafting and what decks are being played. But you're starting to see a lot more Lux. I mean, we weren't talking about Lux 2 weeks ago.
No.
Right.
Nobody was. She was just sitting off on the bench, cheering along, but not doing anything really. And now all of a sudden, she's starting to find a home. And the fact that her mystic, or her mystic shot, her final spark has overwhelmed, I think, is something a lot of people slept on and are starting to see the true power now, especially that she's being able to stick around on the board and what that holds. I mean, it's a real closer. It really is. It's nice.
Yep. I'm not going to lie. I thought that her ability was, I've seen 6+ mana of spells this turn. So I'm like, man, it is really hard to level her up. It's like either you need to like have 12 mana, like beyond like turn 9 or whatever. It's like, or like you need to play her and then hope she survives. And then I realized that it was just 6 mana period, regardless of the turns, and it counts over. Like the first time I played against Lux, like I literally had not played against Lux. Or played against a Lux that actually got the spell off before this patch. So she opened up in my eyes in multiple ways, like actually reading the card as well as her just being better. I mean, we talked about it again on the show before, that stats just matter a lot in this game. Like the breaking points are huge. I mean, I think 4 to 5 health is not, like that's more of a, you can block 2 creatures or 2 followers like profitably breaking point, whereas it's like 3 is black, like 2 to 3 is like you now survive Mystic Shot, 3 to 4 is you survive Black Spear, etc. There's not really off the top of my head.
Hecarim.
Right, lets you block a Hecarim.
There you go.
And so I don't know if 4 to 5 really gets you there in terms of like those specific breakpoints. But regardless, like it's good for the Lux players. Obviously, you're able to attack more and get that damage as well as block. So yeah, Lux is a really cool one.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so funny because I didn't actually know I had Luxes because I'd never looked to make a Lux deck. And then I was like, oh, she got buffed. I was like, oh, I have them. So I made a couple. I made like the Heimerdinger one.
I had 3.
Yeah, and I had 3. I was like, oh, I guess I can play these things. And it's a really cool archetype. I like Demacia Control as an idea. I think Detain is my favorite card. Detain and Purify are my 2 favorite cards right now.
Oh, that combo is sick.
Yeah. Oh, wait, you can purify your own guy when you detain it, and then it goes. I mean, that's kind of like a 7 mana 2-card removal spell, but still, it's a cool combo.
But the coolest thing, because I was playing this, and I had the Galaxy Brain moment where I felt like the smartest man on the planet. I was playing 6D chess, as someone said.
Wait, wasn't that you?
No, it wasn't me. Someone said it, and then I echoed it.
Oh, okay.
You can detain your own Lux to protect her from a kill spell. So if you have a thing out, you have like a bot from your Heimerdinger, someone goes to vengeance your Lux, you can detain her under your own crappy thing, and then you basically have an unblockable unit for the rest of the game because they're never gonna let that die. And like it makes for such crazy stuff. When I realized you could detain your own things to keep them alive, it changed the game for me.
I got blown out by someone detaining their own Ezreal in the Ezreal combo mirror. He was running Lux Ezreal, and I was running the traditional mono Ezreal, Freljord as PNZ. And I'm like, okay, I'll kill your Ezreal, and he like plays detain. I'm like,
that
okay,
doesn't
detain
work,
my
right?
guy. I'm just gonna kill it, and he's like, target my own Ezreal. I'm like, well, that get. Oh crap! I just got blown out by that because I'm like, well, I guess I had to kill the. Wait, I don't want to kill that. Oh wait, I'm already.
Yeah, exactly. Then they get it back.
Oh man, I got completely blown out by that, and I wasn't even thinking about it. So, yes, you guys have learned from Saucy's success and my failure, so that you don't have to suffer like I did.
I've got one more tip because I figured this out too.
Let's hear it.
The detain effect, the follower or whatever coming back from it is not a last breath effect. So if they play a She Who Wanders, for instance, to counter it, you still get the thing back when the detain unit dies.
Really?
It's not last breath. Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you're looking at it, it doesn't say last breath or anything. It just says detain. This has a captured unit.
Right.
So he played She Who Wanders. I'm like, I'm pretty sure 80%. If they let this go, it'll happen. Yep, sure enough, I got my Lux back and I won the game on the spot.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense because otherwise, like, you'd be able to recall the detainer, and it would be like, oh well, that'd be pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty broken. Detain plus what's the 1 mana recall? One of your own guys. That'd be a good one.
I think it's just recall, right?
Might be. I don't know. I don't know the names of cards. There we go. Recall. I got it. The last one I want to talk about briefly, and for no other reason than I think I love this card because of the voice lines, and it was a card I used in the early, in the first Expedition patch.
Is it Battlecaster?
It's Arena Battlecaster. I love that card. It's very much a like it's just a cool card. Like I like 2 mana like beaters, right? But 1 health, talking about breakpoints, like 1 health is just so hard to deal with, or to deal with as an attacker,
as a person playing it,
as a person playing it, and also having to attack with it, which literally it has an attack ability. I almost wish it was kind of like I wish it was a 1/3, something like that, or even a 0/4.
That'd be insane.
I mean, if you think about what's the card? Pestermite in MTG, it's like a 1 mana 0/1 with no, not Battlecry. Oh wait, it is called Battlecry, isn't it?
Yeah.
In MTG, but it's not Battlecry like in
Hearthstone.
I'm like, it doesn't have Battlecry. Oh wait, it does literally have Battlecry, but it's not. Yeah. I think that would be a cool one. I mean, even a 2/2 for 2 is still like, they don't want this to be super powerful, I don't think, but I mean, it's a cool card. It's got cool voice lines. It's got like the megaphone voice, really which is awesome. I love it. So I'm happy that card got buffed because I want to play it anymore. It's who's ready to rack 'em? Something like that. But yeah, that's cool. The other ones, I mean, you guys can read them. The big one is Ledros, and people. I'm
Wraithcaller.
Oh yeah, and Wraithcaller too.
Fearsome decks are still out there though. A lot of fearsome decks.
I mean, Wraithcaller having fearsome was certainly over the top, but it wasn't the reason that it was amazing. It was amazing because it made a body that pumped up all of the other ones, and all like it just also happened to be unblockable like all the other things. So I mean, I think that's perfectly fine. Rasa and Ledros are 2 big nerfed units in terms of their impact on meta decks, but like it's pretty straightforward. They made them cost more. Yeah. I did a video going over the changes, and I think I don't think that the Ledros change, and to an extent the Rasa change, really does anything in terms of their viability. Like Ledros,
what match is getting over before turn 9?
right? I mean the Teemo deck. So like I get that, like you can more reasonably go under these decks, but even so, like there's still Vile Feasts, there's still Withering Whales, there's still Black Spears, there's still all of these early game control options, and like yeah, it doesn't matter if it's turn 8 or turn 9 in a lot of cases. Like I'm sure it does impact some percentage of the games, but like it's still, I think we're going to see Ledros at 10 mana at some point. I think like even in the description of why they changed it and the reasoning, they're like to partially compensate for the nerf, we're bumping Ledros' power by 1. If it connects, it should be ending the game. Like they want that to be the thing. It's like, okay, just make it 10 mana at that point. Like make it a 12/5 or something, or make it big and make it like, I'm fine with that kind of. I'm like I get at least that line of reasoning. If whether that's balanced or not, I don't know with all of those things on firing on all cylinders, but like I think it's going to be 10 mana at some point. It seems like they are like, well, this is going to be a big game ending thing. It's like, well, put it at the end of the game then, So, and then Rasa, I think for the same reason, is like Rasa coming on turn 7, yes. It's just a different turn to play around it, honestly. It's like it coming out early is obviously better, and having that flexibility and saving more mana, blah, 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 but like it's still such a powerful effect. Rasa was like the first non-champion card that I played and saw played that I was like, oh, this is just like way better than a champion. Like, it's so good. It's like, yeah, you can do like the champions are cool and they have powerful effects, but like Rasa is just like you're gonna lose when they
7 mana win the game.
Yeah, it's like okay, and now it's 8 mana win the game, which I'm certainly a price I'm willing to pay for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other ones are pretty either unimpactful in the
Crimson was actually pretty impactful for Vlad decks, although Vlad's still not a very powerful archetype to build around. And it did help. I mean,
I do like that they're giving us a little taste of like little bits and pieces for some of these other decks. Like Crimson Curator didn't see the card played a single time across Expedition or Constructed, so let's give it something. Especially like Crimson Curator is a card that is based around surviving damage, and when it only has 2 health, it's like I'm paying for a 3 mana 3/2, already not great. It needs to take exactly 1 damage, and then you get another copy in your hand. Okay, that obviously combos with Vlad, but this one, like, then it's like the second time you attack with it, Vlad, it dies, and you don't even get the copy. So it's really hard to get that going. Now it's at least got a chance. And then of course the elusives and I guess the whole Ionia package of cards getting changed is pretty good.
Still saw a bunch of inspiring mentors today.
Yeah. Still great.
It's still good. It just, you can play around it now. It's like, well, you've got your 4/5 Kinku Lifeblade. Guess I die. There's no way I'm killing that.
Yep, exactly. I think the most interesting thing about the whole patch as a whole was all of the cards that we weren't seeing any play getting buffed made people at least think about them as viable choices. Like I saw some decks running Jeweled Protector because it's one of those things like you don't think about a lot of these cards until it's brought up in a patch notes. You're like, oh yeah, that's a thing that exists. I can mess with it. So I had a good discussion with someone about like, can we make a Tortured Prodigy deck, like some kind of Shadow Isles combo deck that like you glimpse your own guys and refill your mana and do stuff. And like that conversation would have never happened because I forgot Tortured Prodigy existed. But now that it was in patch notes, I'm like, okay, this is a thing maybe I can think about.
I knew it existed because when I saw it in packs in Expedition, I knew not to take that pack.
Like, what is this one?
It was just an easy, it was an easy thing for me. the last sort of interesting thing about this patch was their specific inclusion of what they're calling the watch list, which we've talked about before. It's like they didn't quite get changed, but we got our eye on you. And they've got Fearsome as well as Control as an archetype on here. Danny, what are your thoughts on, Fearsome being on here as well as just the like Control archetype being on the watch list? Yeah, as a whole.
Watch list is code for yes, we're probably going to nerf something in the future. I mean,
right.
Watch list it's like one of those pre-announcement kind of things. But I mean, Fearsome, I really don't think Fearsome needs too much of a nerf, especially the way things are right now. Shadow Elves, yeah, throw it on the watch list. It definitely needs it because it's still so OP. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know specifically if the next patch is supposed to affect champions. It might, because the way they had their layout was kind of like, let's see what things are doing. Now we're going to make some minor changes, and then we're going to have a really somewhat larger buffer nerf. And I think in the upcoming one, that watch list is just kind of like a heads up, like, all right, look, I know you're all upset still about Shadow Isles, but yeah, we're going to take care of it, but we need some more playtesting time. We need to see what's going to happen with the meta going on right now, and then we can kind of finalize our decision.
Yeah.
I like the watch list. It just kind of gives them a little bit of like, hey guys, we didn't fix it here, but we got our eye on it. I mean, that's literally what they're saying. I just worry, and this is based entirely off of just like my thought process, not a demonstrated that they're going to do this. It's like, I worry that it's like, oh, well, they put Fearsome in the watch list, so like it's ingraining that in the minds of the players that Fearsome's going to get changed next patch. And then if it doesn't, people are going to be like, well, guys, it was on the watch list, so why did they change it? And they can say, hey, we looked at the data and did all these things, and it wasn't really an issue, and we can show you why. I mean, they don't have to, but they could. And even if they do, people are going to be like, yeah, but what about the watch list from patch 0.9.0? I remember specifically you putting Fearsome on that, and it's not changed. Why not? And, I mean, at the end of the day, that opinion probably doesn't matter, but it also, like,
it still exists.
It's little things like that like, make people hate the communities of games. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think overall scale of, let's say 1 to 10, 1 being just revert the patch now, it was a waste of time, and 10 being like this is exactly what I want to see in a patch every single time. Where do you guys rate this? Danny, we'll start with you.
I don't know if I want to see it every single time. Sometimes you're going to have to make big changes. But as far as rating it on a scale for a minor patch, I mean, it's a 9 or a 10 for me. I mean, it was just really, really well done. And, like you said, the watch list is just there to kind of keep an eye on things and kind of cool everybody's jets about, oh, this deck is too OP and nobody can beat it. It's the only thing I see, and that's all perception anyways. What day did you play? Because whatever everybody's playing on Saturday is much different than what everybody was playing on Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, there's gonna have to be those patches where something big has to get changed. That's pretty much, I mean, standard for the course. But I would, majority wise, I love what they just did with this one. Keep it up, great work.
Saucy, what are you rating it as?
Yeah, I'd probably give it around an 8 or so. I'm really happy with it. It was impressive how much the meta did shift, even from so many minor changes. Like it got to be. I mean, we're like towards the end of right before his patch, it was seeing almost nothing but Wraithcaller Fearsome decks.
Yep.
But then like playing yesterday, I saw so many different decks, and just getting people thinking about new archetypes and things again was really good. So I'm happy with it. I like new stuff.
Yeah, new stuff's always good. I'm gonna go with I'll go with an 8. I'll go with an 8.5. I don't know if there's any
Price
specific.
is Right.
Yeah, yeah, I'm Price is Right again. I'll go with a 9. I'll go with an 8.9, Bob. I don't think there's any change specifically to a card or a system that they talked about that I'm actively against. I think everything was a thumbs up for me, at least. If not, I mean, at worst, it was a thumb middle where I don't care enough about it, and I don't even think that's the case. The only thing that was a little weird for me was Jeweled Protector, but it's not. It got better, so I'm happy. And I think the incremental changes are good. I want to see those types of incremental changes more often. I think that they're better. It's like the opposite of what you see in card games normally, where Hearthstone doesn't do a change for 4 months. Magic literally can't change without banning something, with the exception of erratas. But for the most part, they can't change anything because they have cards printed on cardboard. They have ink on cardboard that they can't go. Mark Rosewater has to go door to door and say, "Hey, do you guys have any Okos? We're going to change this plus to a minus." They have a little stamp on there that does that. Can't do it. So I like it. I almost would have liked to see more cards changed. But that's just my greedy. I want more stuff. I want to play with more different stuff. Not a like they should change more things because that's the correct number. I'm just greedy.
Actually, the less stuff they do, the more I think the meta will shift.
Sure.
It's because they did only a few things here and there that we're seeing such a variety. If there was too many, I think it just would have been overwhelming and a lot of stuff would have got missed.
Yep, I agree. Okay, let's put a bow on the patch notes and we'll move into our final section here where we'll take some listener questions. We got some good ones in here. Maybe do one or two because we are running pretty late on time here. I know.
Let's go top down.
I was gonna say, Danny, there is one in here specifically that was at you. And guys, remember, go to discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. We have a listener question section there. If you want your question on the show, throw it in there. We've got a bit of a backlog here, so we're trying to make our way through some questions or to at least answer them throughout the show. So get them in there. Discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. But the Grecken asks, Danny, what recommendations do you have for a teacher getting started with a high school esports team? And then a connected question, thought on college esports.
Yeah, that was an awesome question. And I honestly had to do some legwork before the podcast because I knew about on the collegiate level that it was growing. Did an article back in, I think it was November, where Arena was actually added. Let's see here, what was it called? To the Collegiate Star League. So esports in college, they're offering scholarships. They're offering a chance for growth within competitive. I mean, that's grassroots right there. And in high schools, it's really taking off too. But the problem is, I don't know if it's all states or most states are not recognizing it outside of an activity, so to speak. But even if it's listed as an activity, let's see here. One of the NBC did a really good article, and I'll post some links in the Discord afterwards. But just to throw out some stats here, the National Federation of State High School Associations basically picked up 19,500 high schools just this last year, and they're actually running a 5-year contract through Play Versus that are streaming all the events. And these high schools are getting a lot of grants and stuff from it's called the High School Esports League.
Yep.
There's about 2,500 schools in that right now. So there's a ton going on. And even if it's not recognized as a so-called sport, taking that activities route and just getting it going is not that hard. And then once they get that ball rolling, there's funding. You can get computers. You can get scholarships for the kids going into colleges. I read I saw a bunch of different numbers. NBC said 200. Another article said about 150. But I mean, still, if you got anywhere between 100 and 200 colleges just within the last year that are running esports leagues and offering scholarships, can you imagine what it's going to be in the next 2-3 years?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's insane. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff going on there. I think it's really cool. I wish I had that as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having a D&D esports league?
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. Yeah. Grekin, what I would say is if you have specific questions about starting a high school esports team or like varsity esports in your high school, I'm assuming based on the question that you are a teacher or know teachers, you can hit me up directly on Discord. I actually have connections with folks that run high school esports programs and like help schools do that. So if it's something that you're legitimately looking into doing, hit me up. I can put you in contact with those people. But at a higher level, yeah, just even if it's just starting the club, because I think about like when I was in high school, like me and my buddies started like the gaming club in general, and we played tabletop games, and like that was a big thing for our school because it's like I grew up in sort of a rural area, and like obviously people play games and whatnot. Like I'm not super old. I'm esports old, but I'm not super old. Like we, played video games and stuff. But like there was nothing like that at all.
No.
And like people came out of the woodwork to join that club. It's like people don't like, you don't even know who's playing that. And like so much, like I also did traditional sports too. So like I didn't really have like, I knew people and like had a good high school experience, but like a lot of people in that club, and we did it for 2 years. I started in my junior and senior year. A lot of people, like, they didn't have like a group of friends besides that. Like, they met a lot of people and like, gained a lot from that club. So even if it's not like oh, this is the high school esports varsity program that's playing across the country, it can be something like a club that is pushing in the right direction, because I completely agree with what you said, Danny. Like it's a foregone conclusion. Like it's going to happen. It's not a like, well, is esports gonna be a thing? Is gaming gonna be like a part of culture? It's like it's gonna happen. And like I'm obviously preaching to the choir here as someone who's listening to a video game podcast. Like you get this. Like I don't need to convince you, but some people, like especially in schools, need that convincing. And then again, I could probably do a whole podcast on this topic. So I'm sorry, I'm long-winded here. Specifically on college esports, a lot of different colleges and universities have done, and organizations honestly have done, air quotes, college esports, and it has sucked in a lot of ways, because it's an esports event that is featuring where the teams are colleges, and no one, at least right now, the like people don't care more about Duke esports than Cloud9 in this scene.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is a essentially tier 2 or tier 3 or lower level team playing not the highest level of game, and we're just not at the point where people care about that right now. It's not like in basketball or football where it's like the NCAA is the essentially tier 2 for the NFL, and like in a lot of ways it's different enough that feeds into that and people like that inherently, and they went to that college and all that.
Yeah.
It needs to be, if you're thinking about doing college esports, it needs to be college esports, not esports featuring college. And I'll leave it on that because I could talk for another hour about that. But
going back on the topic of having them in high schools, that will really help kind of move that along. If we start, honestly, I think it should have started in high schools before it even hit the college level,
right?
To be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more teachers, the more coaches or whoever, talks to those activities people and gets, even just whether there's scholarships involved or not, just on a high school level, it grows talent, and talent fuels the rest of the industry.
Yep.
And that's what we need. I mean, we're going to hit a point here, or a bubble, or a glass ceiling, as far as talent goes, coming into a lot of these different games, unless we start creating on those much lower levels, whether it be high school and so on, places for these kids to thrive and to get better. Because there's the difference between a prodigy and trained talent. They can be the same and compete on equal levels, whether you're a prodigy or you learned it. And yeah, the more high school stuff we see, the better. I'm all for it.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing, like even kind of like what Blevins was saying about there may be a lot of people who might not even know they're interested in something like this until the opportunity arises to them.
Yep.
Like especially when it comes to like tabletop games, because I mean I've always played D&D and whatnot, and I've had so many friends that come from my esports friends, like my Magic friends and whatnot. Like I don't know if I'd like that, and then like well, just you welcome in and be like, just come sometime. And now my group of people is like all these nerdy gamers who didn't think like they would. None of my current D&D friends thought they would have been like D&D people until they tried it. So like just giving them the options, they may not know. You might not know that you like Counter-Strike or whatever until you actually play it, and then it might be, hey, you know, I thought I just liked football, but I'm actually really good at Counter-Strike. You know, so just giving them the option.
For sure. All right, let's do one more here. We talked a little bit about this, so we don't necessarily need to go too deep into it, but Silent Eric asks, with the patch notes and the patch notes release, what do you expect to face more now? Do you expect to face more of the same decks with slightly different options in them, or do you think people are going to radically change archetypes or regions? And maybe not even specifically for like today and yesterday, because it's like literally hot off the presses and people are trying new things, but maybe as the meta develops, do you think that we're going to eventually get back to just seeing nothing but mist wraiths, or are we actually going to see a seat change in the meta, Danny?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're already seeing the changes, and yeah, I mean, you're still always going to go back to some classics that work for you, because you're going to test things out, and then maybe you get a mashup of, you know, some kind of spider, you know, aggro burn deck or whatever. I mean, it's just there's no limit to what
Dawn Speaker Teemo.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
But yeah, I mean, you're always going to see the meta level out at some point after a couple weeks. I mean, that's pretty standard, because everybody wants to rank up, and they only want to play the best decks, and they want to keep their rank on Masters and so on and so forth. Which is why these minor changes are awesome, and the nerfs and the buffs. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see the same old. I think it's going to keep continually growing and growing, and then they're going to drop a new set on us. And
yeah, change everything completely.
We're going to be playing Void Teemo, whatever that ends up being.
Ooh, I'm all about it. Yeah, I think this is interesting because I've been, again, the games are early and all that, but I've seen so much of the meta correcting itself and different archetypes be born so quickly, to the point of where things that we think are memes, i.e. Teemo, turn out to be legitimately strong. And I am going to say this, I think the Elnuk package is legitimately good. I brought the Elnuk meme deck a couple weeks ago as just a joke, but I think the Elnuk package, it's a high roll package similar to something you'd see in like Hearthstone, where you just have the ability to just win on turn 4, turn 5 out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's like the War Mother's Call deck that I'm playing that I made as a complete meme joke. I'm something like 13-3 with it or something right now. It's been insane. Like just being able to troop of Elnuks on turn 4 because you have a Weirding Stones and it fills the board and you win. Like I think that I've seen a lot of people messing with it in Azrael decks as well, because we've seen the Poros and Elnuks now. So I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe we'll see people messing with Yeti decks, try to make them a thing.
I was gonna say Poros are next.
We got to get that fluffed.
I would love to see even tier 2 Poro deck. I would love to see that. I did get a 7-win expedition run with a Poro deck. And the Elnuk Ezreal version sucks, by the way. Don't play it. But that's going to be it for our listener questions. Guys, again, discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. Get your questions in. I'm not kidding. We are going to be getting through some of these questions. We've got like a freaking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like we've got a backlog of like 7 or 8 questions here. So we do see your questions and we do appreciate them. Hopefully if we don't answer them on the day of, we kind of talk about the concepts at some point. So again, keep them coming. We really do appreciate it. But that's going to bring us to the end of our show. Danny, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about all the sound issues and stuff, but I really appreciate you guys.
I blame Discord every time.
I tell you, it's my headset. It's all my headset.
It is all good. But Danny, where can people find you on the internet? Sell out, shout out, plug whatever you like. The floor is yours.
You can always find me on Twitter at DannySpaceCoast. And of course, check out .esports. It's not just LOR, but anything from LOL to Hearthstone, Magic. I mean, we got everything covered. A lot of good writers, tons of awesome people cranking out awesome content every day. So definitely check out .esports. And yep, that's about it for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Danny. Saucy, where can people find you when not hanging out in the awesomest Discord in the land?
The awesomest Discord. First, I do want to mirror .esports is awesome. I actually didn't even know they were doing Legends of Runeterra content until I met Danny. I followed them from Overwatch and CSGO because I watch a lot of CSGO and Overwatch, even though I don't play those games. So thank you, Danny, for writing for them because it made me happy. I didn't know that you guys were doing Runeterra until you existed. But yeah, if you want to follow me other than discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. I'm everywhere. I'm just Saucy Mailman, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all those places. I put out a lot of Runeterra videos like almost every day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of Elnuk videos and a lot of Teemo videos.
Yes, War Moother's Call. I will forever.
It's so fun.
It's such a cool deck. Guys, you can find me. Just find me in the Discord. There's nowhere else you need to be except for DeckPics.Live, DeckPics.Live. It exists. You think it's a meme.
Our website.
It is a real thing. We own it. Or Runeterrable.com. Discord.me/Runeterrable Radio is the place to be. We're going to have all the links to all the shows, guests. I mean, guys, you guys keep it popping. No joke. The community is active and it's awesome. So keep it up. We love it. We love you. And until next time, for Saucy Mailman, for DannySpaceCoast, I am Blevins, and we will catch you guys next week when we talk about more Legends of Runeterra.